here's something nobody wants to admit. You are probably spending way more money on food than you need to, and the food you're making still doesn't taste as good as what comes out of a Chinese kitchen for a fraction of the cost. That's not an accident. Chinese home cooking was built over thousands of years around one simple idea: get more flavor out of less money and use technique to make up the difference. Today, I'm giving you 31 tricks that do both at once. They save you money and they make your food taste like it came from a restaurant. Let's get into it. Number 31. Cold water for dumpling dough, not warm. Most people grab warm water out of habit. That's a mistake. Cold water tightens the gluten slowly, giving you a dough that's elastic and easy to roll paper thin without tearing. Mix 1 cup of flour with about a third cup of cold water, knead for 8 minutes, then rest it covered for 30 minutes. That rest is not optional. Skip it and the dough fights you the whole time you're rolling. Homemade wrappers cost pennies compared to the store-bought packs, and they taste noticeably better. Number 30. Freeze cheap cuts for 15 minutes before slicing. Restaurant thin slices aren't a knife skill. They're a temperature trick. Throw your cheapest cut of beef or pork in the freezer for exactly 15 minutes before cutting. The outside firms up just enough to slice cleanly, while the inside stays soft. You get perfect, even slices from a $2 cut of meat that would otherwise be nearly impossible to cut thin. Number 29. Stretch meat with wood ear mushrooms. Dried wood ear mushrooms cost almost nothing and rehydrate to several times their size, with a chewy texture that mimics meat. Soak for 30 minutes, slice into strips, and use half your usual amount of protein, filling the rest of the dish with mushrooms. Nobody notices the meat is missing because the texture variety makes the dish more interesting, not less. Number 28. Velvet your meat before cooking, even the cheap stuff. Velveting is the reason restaurant chicken and beef are always silky, while home-cooked versions turn dry and chewy. Mix a pound of sliced meat with a tablespoon of soy sauce, a tablespoon of Shaoxing wine, 1 egg white, and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Let it sit 20 minutes. The coating seals in moisture during high-heat cooking, and suddenly your cheapest cut of meat has the texture of something from a menu. Number 27. Add sugar to savory dishes. This isn't about making things sweet. A 1/4 teaspoon of sugar in a stir-fry sauce rounds out harsh edges and makes cheap ingredients taste finished and balanced. It's the difference between a sauce that tastes homemade and one that tastes intentional. Number 26. Red braise the cheapest cuts you can find. Hong Shao, or red braising, takes tough $2 a pound cuts, like pork shoulder or belly, and turns them into something glossy and luxurious. Braise low and slow in soy sauce, rice wine, sugar, and aromatics until the collagen melts into the sauce. Make a big batch on a weekend, then reuse the leftover braising liquid to cook vegetables or eggs all week. Number 25. Rest your braised dishes overnight. Braised dishes like soy sauce chicken are scientifically better the next day. As the dish cools and sits, the meat keeps absorbing the liquid through osmosis and the flavors mellow and combine. Chinese families almost never serve a braise the same day they make it. They know a rested braise is a completely different dish. Number 24. Ferment your own vegetables. Slice cabbage, daikon, or cucumber thin, Toss with 2% of their weight in salt, pack into a jar, and let sit at room temperature for 2 to 4 days. A 10-cent cabbage becomes a premium probiotic condiment that makes plain rice or noodles exciting for almost no money at all. Number 23. Save your rice rinse water for braising. Instead of pouring that cloudy, starchy water down the drain, keep it as a braising liquid for tofu, vegetables, or pork. The starch naturally thickens your braise as it reduces, giving you a silky sauce without buying cornstarch. It's completely free and it's already in your sink every single day. Number 22. Use baking soda to tenderize cheap beef. Sprinkle a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda per pound of sliced beef. Mix well and let sit 15 minutes before rinsing thoroughly. The baking soda raises the surface pH, keeping proteins from bonding too tightly under heat. This is the actual secret behind that velvety texture in Chinese takeout beef, and it works on the toughest, cheapest cut in the store. Number 21. Pressure cook your dried beans and legumes. Dried black-eyed peas, mung beans, and adzuki beans cost a fraction of canned versions but normally take forever to cook. A pressure cooker cuts that time by 70%. Batch cook, portion, and freeze. You now have weeks of cheap protein ready for congee, soups, or a 5-spice seasoned side dish. Number 20. Toast your white pepper before grinding. Most people use white pepper straight from the jar. Toast the peppercorns in a dry pan for 2 minutes until fragrant, then grind fresh. This wakes up the oils inside and gives you a sharper, earthier flavor, noticeable immediately in something as simple as egg drop soup. Number 19. Stretch ground meat with cornstarch. Mix a tablespoon or 2 of cornstarch with a little soy sauce and water into your ground meat before cooking. The cornstarch binds moisture and makes the meat feel denser and more satisfying per bite. Half a pound of ground pork can genuinely feed 4 people this way, and nobody at the table feels shorted. Number 18. Make chili oil by infusing slowly, not just heating. Combine 2 cups of neutral oil with star anise, a cinnamon stick, a few Sichuan peppercorns, and crushed garlic in a cold pan. Heat slowly until it reaches about 250 degrees. Pour that infused oil over red pepper flakes, a little soy sauce, and sesame oil. The slow heat pulls maximum flavor from the aromatics, and 1 jar lasts weeks while transforming anything bland into something exciting. Number 17. Reuse your braising liquid as a sauce base. Nothing gets thrown away in a Chinese kitchen without consideration. After braising chicken or pork in soy sauce and aromatics, reduce the leftover liquid down until it thickens slightly, then drizzle it over rice or vegetables. You already paid for that flavor. Pouring it out is pouring money down the drain. Number 16. Use tofu as a meat extender, not a replacement. A block of firm tofu costs about $1.50. Dice it and cook it in the same pan as your ground meat, and it absorbs all the savory flavor around it while adding bulk and protein. A dish that used to need a pound of meat can now run on half a pound plus tofu and taste just as satisfying. Number 15. Buy whole chickens and break them down yourself. Chicken breasts alone can run $6 or $7 a pound. A whole chicken costs far less per pound and gives you breast, thighs, wings, drumsticks, and a carcass for stock. Breaking down a chicken takes about 15 minutes to get comfortable with, and the savings over a month add up fast, plus you get free homemade stock out of the deal. Number 14. Test oil temperature with a wooden chopstick. No thermometer needed. Insert a dry wooden chopstick vertically into hot oil. No bubbles means it's not ready. Small, slow bubbles mean around 325 degrees, right for a first fry. Vigorous, continuous bubbles mean around 375, ready for a second, crisping fry. This costs nothing and has worked for generations. Number 13. Double fry anything you want genuinely crispy. Dishes like sweet and sour pork are always fried twice. First fry at a lower temperature to cook the meat through. Rest it a few minutes, then raise the oil temperature and fry again to crisp the exterior. Single frying never gets you the same shattering crunch because the outside steams before it can crisp. Number 12. Use dried shiitake mushrooms instead of fresh and save the soaking liquid. Dried shiitakes cost very little, last forever in the pantry, and pack more umami than fresh ones because drying concentrates their flavor. Rehydrate in warm water for 20 minutes. And don't throw out that soaking liquid. It's essentially free, intensely flavored mushroom stock for soups and braises. Number 11. Make your own oyster sauce substitute from mushrooms. Simmer 10 dried shiitakes in 2 cups of water until reduced by half. Add 2 tablespoons soy sauce, a tablespoon of dark soy sauce, a tablespoon of sugar, and a cornstarch slurry to thicken. The natural glutamates in the mushrooms mimic oyster sauce's depth almost exactly, and it works in nearly any recipe that calls for the real thing. Number 10. Rinse your rice until the water runs clear. This isn't just tradition. Rinsing removes excess surface starch that causes clumping. Swirl the rice in cold water, pour off the cloudy liquid, and repeat 3 or 4 times. The payoff is rice that cooks up fluffy and separate instead of gluey, which means people are satisfied with smaller portions. Number 9. Measure rice water with your knuckle, not a measuring cup. Rest your index finger on the surface of the rinsed rice in the pot and add water until it reaches your first knuckle. This works regardless of how much rice you're cooking, because the ratio stays roughly constant. One less thing to buy, one less thing to measure. Number 8. Turn day-old rice into fried rice. Fresh rice has too much moisture and steams instead of frying, creating a gummy mess. Day-old refrigerated rice has dried out just enough that each grain fries separately with a light crisp edge. Add cheap eggs and whatever vegetables are about to go bad, and you've built a full meal from things you already paid for. Number 7. Freeze your ginger whole. Fresh ginger goes bad within 2 weeks in most refrigerators, and a lot of it ends up in the trash. Freeze it whole instead and grate it directly from frozen with a microplane. Frozen ginger actually grates easier because the cell structure breaks down, releasing more flavor. $1's worth of ginger can now last 3 or 4 months. Number 6. Make congee to stretch a small amount of rice into several meals. Cook 1 cup of rice in 8 to 10 cups of liquid until it breaks down into a thick porridge. A single cup of raw rice can feed 4 people this way. Top with a soft-boiled egg, a little meat, scallions, and soy sauce. Total cost per serving is often under $1, and it doesn't feel like a sacrifice at all. Number 5. Lean on soy sauce as your primary flavor source. Soy sauce is loaded with glutamates, the compounds behind umami, the deep savory satisfaction people usually chase with large amounts of meat. A simple stir-fry of cabbage and garlic with a tablespoon of soy sauce and a little sesame oil tastes rich and complex on its own. No expensive protein required. Number 4. Stack multiple umami sources in the same dish. Chinese cooking rarely relies on just one savory ingredient. Combining soy sauce, dried mushrooms, and fermented black bean paste in a single dish creates glutamate synergy. Each source amplifies the others, producing a result that tastes exponentially more savory than any one ingredient alone. This is how a 20-cent portion of tofu ends up tasting like a real dinner. Number 3. Buy whole fish instead of fillets. A whole tilapia or catfish at an Asian grocery store often runs around $2 a pound, while the same fish pre-filleted at a regular store can cost 3 times as much. Score the sides, season simply with salt, ginger, and scallion, then steam or pan fry. The meat near the bone is often the most tender part, and you get noticeably more food for far less money. Number 2. Finish your stir-fry with a ring of soy sauce around the wok-rim. Instead of pouring soy sauce directly onto the food, pour it around the hot upper rim of the wok and let it run down the sides. As it hits the scorching metal, the sugars caramelize before ever touching the food, producing a deeper, slightly smoky flavor you cannot get by adding soy sauce straight into the pan. This single habit is a big part of what separates restaurant flavor from home cooking. Number 1. Master high-heat wok cooking with minimal oil. This is the technique that changes everything because it changes how you shop. In a genuinely hot carbon steel wok, one that costs around $30 and lasts a lifetime, even the most boring vegetables in your fridge turn caramelized, slightly charred, and intensely flavorful in 90 seconds flat. Wilting cabbage, sad bean sprouts, forgotten frozen vegetables, all of it becomes worth eating. Master this one technique, and you stop overspending to compensate for bland food and start turning almost nothing into something genuinely good every single night. And that's 31 tricks that Chinese home cooks have used for generations to eat better for less, not by sacrificing flavor, but by understanding exactly why these techniques work. Pick 3 or 4 to try this week. Freeze your ginger, velvet your meat, get your wok smoking hot, and finish with that ring of soy sauce around the rim. Your cooking and your grocery bill are both about to change. If this helped, let me know in the comments which trick surprised you the most, and subscribe for more deep dives like this one.